So today we are going to learn the division of fractions by a whole number. This is really straightforward, but this will really lead us into division of fractions by another fraction. So let's start out simple and start talking about division of whole numbers by whole numbers. So please remember 6 divided by 2 has two interpretations. So let me write down 6 divided by 2 equal to 3. This is a mathematical fact, but it has two different interpretations. So one interpretation is that there are, let's say, 6 sweets. So let's say there are 6 sweets and 2 children and 2 children. So how many will each child get? And the answer is 3 sweets per child. 3 per child, right? 3 per child. So that's one way of thinking about 60 divided by 2. And that's a usual interpretation that people use. But there is another interpretation of division, which is you have 6 sweets and each child gets 2 sweets. So we get 2 sweets per child. Okay? So now what we have is we don't know the number of children, but we know how many sweets each child got. So now again the answer is 6 divided by 2 is 3, and this would imply 3 children. 3 children. Okay. Now the picture that goes with it is slightly different, because if you have 2 children, then what you're thinking about is you have 6 sweets and you break up the sweets into, so each child gets 3 sweets. Here you know the number of sweets per child, so you know that each child gets 2 sweets, and you're trying to figure out, so maybe I should make it vertically to make it more consistent. So maybe what you know is that each child is getting 2 sweets, but now you want to get to 6, so that means there must be 3 children, and that's the interpretation. In this part, when we are dividing fractions by whole numbers, we'll actually be focused on this first interpretation, but once we get to dividing fractions by dividing, we'll start thinking about the second interpretation. So right now we'll be focusing on the first interpretation. Okay, so now let's say you have, let's say you want to divide 3 over 4 by 3. Okay, so a very simple thing. Let's make 3 over 4 first. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 4 3/4. So let's say we have 3/4, and we want to divide by 3. So clearly the answer is, because if you have 3/4 and you divide by 3, clearly the answer is 1/4, because each person will get a fourth. Okay, that's fairly easy. Let's try another one. Let's say we have 7/4 and we want to divide by 2. So let's try to do that. So we have 7/4. So let's use, so here's the number line. Here's our number line. And I'm going to draw 7/4. So this is 0. Here's maybe 1. Here's maybe 2. And I'm going to have these markings in the middle. So I'm going to have 1/4, so maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I have divided the problem into fourths. So note that this is 5, 6. So this point exactly is 7/4. So this is 7 over 4. So now if I have 7 over 4, I want to divide it into two equal parts. So I want to divide it among two children. So I have 7/4 of a chocolate and I want to divide it into two children. So what I'll do is I'll imagine that I have this chocolate, and what I'm doing is I have these fourths. So here are these fourths, and I am going to divide. So I have to divide it equally among two children. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to each one. I'm going to divide it into two. So each one of the fourths, it is divided into two, and to one child, I'm going to give um, these to one. So now note that I've divided the fourths. So these were the fourths. So for example, this was 1/4, right? This was another fourth. This was another fourth. So each of the fourths has been divided into eighths because it has been halved. So a fourth is now, the red shaded portion is 1/8, and I'm giving exactly 7 red shaded portions. So the answer ought to be 7 over 8. And similarly, I mean, this is not very hard to see, but I'm just going to do it very quickly. That if you have 6 whole 3 over 5 and you want to divide it among 3 kids, well, the 3 wholes will get divided very easily, and you will get 2 wholes. And when you divide the 3/5 into 3 pieces, each one of them will get a fifth. So it's 2 wholes, 1/5, right? So what we have done is we have taken the explanation for this is, so if somebody is confused, here's the explanation. You can think of it as 6 3/5 is really equal to 6 plus 3/5. So if I take the 6 and I divide by 3, so I have a 6 whole chocolates and I have 3 kids, so I can take the 6 whole chocolates and give them to 3 kids. So each one of them will get a 2 when I divide by 3, and the 3/5. So here are the 3/5. So if I take the 3/5, and you can play the same game as I played earlier, and if you divide that among 3 children, each child will get a fifth. So that's why it's 2 whole and 1/5. Now, just a curiosity, and I think that it's very important for you to think about it because this is going to become important as we go later on. It's a very interesting fact that if you, for example, and I'll do this very quickly right over here, if I take 3/4 and I multiply it by 1/3, so I'm just taking 3 and putting it into the denominator, I get an answer which is exactly a fourth. That's just must be an accident. Let's try another one. If I take 7 over 4 and multiply it by a half, I took a 2, inverted it, and I converted the division into multiplication. I get 7 over 8, and this looks a bit more daunting, but let's do that. I can write it, this mixed fraction, as an improper fraction. So this is just 33 over 5. And if I multiply 33 over 5 by the putting the 3 in the denominator, so I get a third, and by the after cancellation I just get 11 over 5, which turns out to be exactly equal to 2 whole and 1/5. So it's an interesting fact that we've just found out, that it seems that when we are dividing by whole numbers, what we can do is we can start to think of whole numbers as, and this is what I'm just adding on, 3 can be thought of as 3 over 1, 2 can be thought of as 2 over 1, and 3 can be thought of as 3 over 1. So we are really inverting the fraction and multiplying. You have to think harder about it. But this seems to be working, and we'll think about it next time. Thank you.